I'm going to talk about two things. One, the indirect object, and the other is the objective complement. And you'll see why I'm grouping these two things together by the end. Now, first, the indirect object, as its name suggests, is related to the direct object. It's contrasted to it, but they're in the same family of things. The direct object, you will recall, is the thing that is on the receiving end of the action named by the verb. Let's take a look at a sentence. He baked her a cake. He baked her a cake. Now, the way we find direct objects is we look at the main verb, baked, and we ask, baked what? And the answer here is a cake. He baked a cake. So a cake is the direct object, and cake is really the direct object. This is a nominal phrase. Cake is the head. Cake is the direct object of bake. But we have this her in here. Now, her is not the direct object. If you ask, what did he bake? The answer isn't her, I hope. Her is what we call the indirect object. And the indirect object is a word, either a name or a pronoun, a noun or a pronoun, for whom or to whom the direct object was made or given. It doesn't have, those aren't the only verbs, obviously, make and give, that can take indirect objects. Here's bake. He baked a cake for her. But with the indirect object, you don't have to have the prepositional phrase for her. You just put the her. He baked her a cake. That means the same thing as he baked a cake for her. But her here is an indirect object. It's as if there's an invisible for or to in front of every indirect object. Similarly, she gave him a black eye. Maybe the cake was no good. She gave him a black eye. Well, gave what? A black eye. That's what. So this phrase here is the direct object. Him is the indirect object. Gave a black eye to him. So that's the indirect object. It's pretty straightforward. I want to pair this discussion with the discussion of a less famous grammatical structure. It's got far less publicity for some reason, which is the objective complement. Now, look at a sentence like this. He made me a man. That's something, you might say that about your coach or your father or your drill sergeant or something like that. He made a man of me. He made me a man. Well, what did he make? Well, he made me, but not really. I mean, he didn't make me. And so we see that, and this is not an indirect object. He didn't make a man for me. He didn't make a man to me, whatever that would mean. We see that there needs to be something else to complete this object, because he didn't simply make me. He made me something. He made me into something. And what he made me into is a man. So a man is the structure we would call the objective complement, because the direct object is me. But in a case like this, there needs to be something else added to it to make sense of the direct object, because he didn't make me. Now, he did in fact bake a cake. End of story. There is no objective complement. What did he bake? A cake. What did he make? Me? Nah. He made me a man. So here, this phrase here, a man, is the objective complement. The objective complement is a noun or an adjective that is needed to complete the object, the direct object. So he made me a man. So me is the direct object. and a man is the objective complement. Let's look at a few more of these to see how they work. They elected Carter president. They elected Carter president. Well, who did they elect? They elected Carter. But we have this noun hanging off the end here. And if you don't have some way of accounting for it, it's just hanging off in space. They didn't just elect Carter, they elected him president. So once again, president is the objective complement here. Carter is the direct object, and president is the objective complement. Sandor made me sad. Now here's another made. Sandor made, well, but he didn't really make me, period, end of story, the way he baked the cake, end of story. He didn't make me, he made me sad. Sad here is, of course, an adjective. President, in the elected Carter president, that's a noun. That's a nominal objective complement. Here we have an adjective as the objective complement. Sandor made me sad. He didn't just make me flat out, he made me sad. Sad is the one-word objective complement. Me is the direct object. Now, here, this is sort of something you can use to maybe astound your friends. This is sort of for a party trick or something. He made me sing. Now, once again, you should be thinking we're in objective complement territory because he didn't really make me. Again, period, end of story. He made me sing. So sing is an objective complement, but you might be saying, well, what is this? Objective complements are either nouns or adjectives, and sing, just hanging off alone there, that looks like a verb. Well, what it in fact is an infinitive whose to has been wiped away, but it's there in theory. And you can see this if you think of a similar sentence. What if made were forced? Well, you would say, he forced me to sing, right? You would not say, he forced me sing. You would say, he forced me to sing. As it happens, this is just one of these idioms in English, just these things that we do. There's no real rhyme or reason, but it's just how we say it. When you say made me to mean compelled me or forced me, the to in the infinitive phrase that is functioning as the objective complement gets dropped. So he made me sing really means he made me to sing. And in fact, in old-fashioned English, you can find things. He made me to sing, he made me to cry. And people learning English as a second language will often insert this to here, and native speakers may sort of laugh at that. But in fact, there's really a point there, and people learning English as a second language have remembered something that we've forgotten. So, sing is the objective complement. And because objective complements and indirect objects can produce similar looking sentences, a lot of sentences can be read two ways. So for example, he made me a man. You remember that one. If we read a man as the objective complement, that means he turned me into a man. But supposing you're talking about Dr. Frankenstein, and somebody says, well, what did Dr. Frankenstein make for you? He made me a man. Now, a man is the direct object, and me is the indirect object. So indirect objects plus direct objects can often look a lot like direct objects and objective complements.